What happened to Las Vegas? It's a question that no longer surprises anyone because most people think they already know the answer. We've all heard about the half-empty casinos, the thinning crowds, and those hidden fees that turned every cheap getaway into an expensive trap, leaving the Strip quieter than ever. But have you ever wondered if Vegas has actually tried to save itself? The truth is, it knows it's dying and it's throwing billions at survival. The glowing sphere, the towering glass of Fontainebleau, the tunnel that leads nowhere, all promoted as symbols of revival, yet built out of fear of being forgotten. Maybe those lights aren't signs of rebirth after all. Maybe they're just how Vegas hides the darkness closing in. And in this video, we'll take a closer look at these billion-dollar efforts and ask whether they're saving the city or just delaying the inevitable. Let's start with the first and brightest illusion, the Sphere illusion, Vegas's brightest mistake. When the Sphere opened in late 2023, it was sold as the future of Las Vegas, a $2.3 billion monument to rebirth. For a few weeks it worked. Social media flooded with clips of a giant blinking eyeball hovering above the Strip, and tourists rushed in just to take photos from the outside. But behind the spectacle, the numbers told another story. In its first fiscal quarter, Sphere Entertainment reported a $98 million loss, and analysts warned the venue might never turn a profit. The world's largest LED screen had become a financial black hole, proof that Las Vegas could still burn money faster than it earns attention. Negative signs followed quickly. The company's chief financial officer abruptly resigned right after the massive loss, raising doubts about its financial control and long-term stability. CEO James Dolan personally reassured investors of positive progress, but most analysts remained skeptical. And even as the glowing dome attracted huge attention from advertisers, few could stomach the cost, as nearly $450,000 per day for a single ad. The Sphere was supposed to save Las Vegas. Instead, it revealed just how fragile the city's new model really is. Inside, visitors discovered the same pattern repeating. Ticket prices ranged from $150 to $600, cocktails hit $28, popcorn $14. The Sphere promised immersion but delivered exhaustion. Long security lines flashing 16K visuals that caused dizziness and sound levels exceeding 100 decibels. Reviews poured in describing it as beautiful but overwhelming, and more than one visitor wrote, "Once is enough." The attraction that promised to redefine entertainment ended up redefining frustration. But the real problem isn't inside the Sphere. It's what the Sphere did to the rest of Las Vegas. When a single attraction costs $2.3 billion to build and over $250 a ticket to enter, it rewires how the city prices fun. Casinos and theaters nearby quietly raised their own ticket prices 10 to 15% in a single season, just to avoid looking cheap. The result isn't competition, it's inflation disguised as progress. A night of entertainment that once cost $80 now runs over $200, and middle-class visitors, the group that once filled every casino floor, are being priced out of the Strip altogether. For a city built on accessibility, that's not growth. It's exclusion wrapped in neon. Even time, Vegas's most precious currency, got distorted. Visitors now spend half a day queuing, commuting, and recovering from the Sphere experience, time they once split among restaurants, shops, and casinos. Retail traffic in nearby complexes has fallen by nearly 10% on major show weekends. The Strip's hotel occupancy dips slightly those nights. People spend more at the Sphere, but less everywhere else. In a city that once lived off circulation, the Sphere has become a black hole absorbing money, attention, and time without giving life back. Worst of all, it changed what Vegas energy means. The city once thrived on shared chaos, crowds laughing, gambling, celebrating the same moment. The Sphere turned that collective thrill into solitary spectacle. Visitors no longer come to connect. They come to record themselves inside the light. Vegas used to rise together, shows feeding casinos, casinos feeding restaurants, everyone winning a little. Now every new icon seems to drain life from everything around it. If the Sphere was meant to bring people back, it may have done the opposite, proving that even the brightest light can make the rest of the city fade. And just a few blocks away, another symbol of revival, and one that took nearly 20 years and $3.7 billion to complete, is about to show that Vegas's biggest problem isn't building too little, it's building too late. That is the Fontainebleau gamble. 20 years, 3 owners, 1 mistake. Rising 67 stories above the North Strip, the Fontainebleau was meant to be the city's comeback statement. Proof that Las Vegas could still dream in glass and gold. But after 20 years, 3 bankruptcies, and $3.7 billion, it finally opened in late 2023, only to discover that the city it was built for no longer existed. The mid-2000s fantasy of limitless conventions and high-rolling tourists had given way to budget travelers and cautious spending. Fontainebleau wasn't the beginning of a new Vegas. It was the echo of the old one. The problems came fast. By spring 2025, internal sources revealed the resort was burning through nearly $400,000 a day, losing millions every week. Occupancy hovered around 63%, far below the Strip's 85% average. Then came the layoffs. More than 60 casino dealers were cut, followed by a wave of resignations from top executives, the CFO, CTO, and beverage director among them. What was once marketed as a luxury fortress now looked like a revolving door of crisis management. The financial instability deepened. Fontainebleau is now seeking an emergency $1 billion refinancing package just to restructure its debt, even as it quietly buys more land for future expansion. Behind the polished facade, federal investigators have opened an active money laundering probe after leaked Nevada Gaming Board documents suggested the casino extended credit lines to high-stakes gamblers without compliance checks. The investigation is ongoing, and so are the losses. The impact ripples far beyond its walls. For Las Vegas, Fontainebleau was supposed to bring new jobs, new tourists, and new energy to the struggling North Strip. Instead, it became a vacuum of spending power. Convention guests who once filled nearby hotels are choosing cheaper options or staying off-strip entirely. Restaurants and entertainment venues in the area report weaker traffic, while smaller operators nearby can't compete with a giant bleeding cash just to stay relevant. In trying to save Vegas's image, Fontainebleau exposed the city's deepest flaw. It keeps building monuments to its former glory instead of adapting to the world that left it behind. This is what happens when a city confuses expansion with evolution, when it mistakes building something new for becoming something new. The Fontainebleau was meant to bring people back to Las Vegas. Instead, it's pushing them further away. And while the city's skyline reached higher, its foundation grew weaker, especially underground, where the next illusion was already taking shape. As the sphere keeps glowing and Fontainebleau begins to crack, Vegas seems to be running out of miracles. There's only one illusion left, buried deep beneath the Strip, promising speed, innovation, and escape. But after everything you've seen, you have to wonder, is it really the future, or just the city's final trick? That illusion is the tunnel illusion, Elon Musk's shortcut to nowhere. Beneath the glittering Strip, Las Vegas has been digging for its next miracle, an underground transit system designed by Elon Musk's Boring Company. The so-called Las Vegas Loop was marketed as the future of tourism mobility. Sleek Teslas shuttling visitors between the convention center, Westgate Resort, and the University of Nevada in minutes. It promised innovation, efficiency, and a glimpse into tomorrow. But today, that future looks more like another Vegas illusion, shiny on the surface, crumbling underneath. The project now stretches roughly 2 miles, connecting a few key points, but its progress has been shadowed by controversy. Over 800 environmental violations were documented during construction, including untreated wastewater discharge and improper handling of toxic materials. Nevada's regulators once considered a $3 million fine, yet the company walked away with just $242,800 in penalties, sparking outrage over what critics called a slap on the wrist for a billion-dollar enterprise. Add to that more than 689 inspections skipped, $112,000 in OSHA fines for worker safety breaches, and a growing sense that this innovation comes at the expense of accountability. What was supposed to be a revolution in transport now looks like a loophole in oversight. For tourists, the reality is underwhelming. The Tesla rides remain driver-operated, creeping through tunnels at just 35 mph, far from the futuristic autonomy that was promised. Congestion still exists above ground, while below, visitors describe the experience as claustrophobic and pointless. Even as the loop expands, its purpose remains narrow, more spectacle than solution. And the environmental fallout is starting to taint the city's image. Las Vegas has long sold itself as a playground of wonder amid the desert, but headlines about toxic leaks and safety violations clash sharply with that narrative. In an era where travelers increasingly value sustainability, Vegas's embrace of a project riddled with ecological and ethical failures risks alienating a new generation of conscious tourists. Instead of symbolizing innovation, the loop has become a metaphor for the city itself. Flashy, costly, and unsustainable. Musk's tunnel was supposed to move people faster, but in truth it slows the city down in other ways. Bureaucratic investigations, public distrust, and the erosion of credibility in Vegas's so-called smart future. And in the end, what should have been a leap forward for tourism became another detour, one that leads nowhere but deeper into the same illusion Las Vegas can't stop chasing. The truth is, Las Vegas isn't rebuilding, it's reacting. The city that once reinvented itself through ideas has now turned to concrete, glass, and spectacle, hoping that size can replace soul. The Sphere, the Fontainebleau, the tunnel. They were all meant to prove that Vegas could rise again, but together they reveal something much darker, a city that's mistaking distraction for rebirth. Every billion-dollar project was supposed to fix the problem, yet each one only deepened it. The Sphere pushed prices higher across the Strip. Fontainebleau absorbed capital and labor that could have revitalized the smaller, dying resorts, and the tunnel swallowed money in the name of innovation, while adding nothing to the city's actual movement. These weren't symbols of progress, they were symptoms of panic. Vegas no longer builds for people, it builds for attention. Each new headline is designed to convince investors that the city is still hot, even as visitors quietly vanish and locals struggle to stay afloat. The irony is painful. A city famous for reinvention has forgotten how to truly change. Instead of facing its shrinking middle class, its labor crisis, its vanishing sense of community, Vegas keeps painting over the cracks with neon and debt. It keeps chasing a version of itself that no longer exists. To the outside world, these projects look like hope. But to those who understand how Vegas really works, they're a warning. Proof that a city can shine brighter than ever while running out of power. The more it builds to stay alive, the faster it digs its own grave. And maybe that's the real illusion of Vegas 2.0. Not that it's dying, but that it still believes it knows how to live. Maybe Las Vegas doesn't need another skyline. Maybe it needs a soul. The Sphere, the Fontainebleau, the tunnel, all proof that money can build anything except meaning. And yet, under all that noise and light, the question remains. Who is Vegas really building for now? The tourists who come once? The investors who never leave New York? Or the people who still call this desert home? Because if Vegas can't remember who it's trying to impress, it might forget who it really is. What do you think? Has the city reached its limit? Or is there still one last miracle left under the neon? If you want to keep uncovering the hidden stories behind America's brightest illusions, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell. There's a lot more beneath the surface than you think.